the director of the FBI was being grilled, okay, by Congress, and I just want you to listen to his answer to this question. I'm speechless. Just listen.
Director Wray, does the FBI have confidential human sources? Did the FBI have confidential human sources embedded within the January 6th protesters on January 6th of 2021?
Well, Congressman, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I have to be very careful about what I can say about when.
Even now, because that's what you told us 2 years ago.
May I finish? About when we do and do not, and where we have and have not used confidential human sources. But to the extent that there's a suggestion, for example, that the FBI's confidential human sources or FBI employees in some way instigated or orchestrated January 6th, that's categorically false.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people, no, we did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol?
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Wray,
confidential human
gentleman's
sources.
time has expired.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Look, man, I know these spooks and politicians, they do politician speak. We expect that. And I understand from, an intelligence and security standpoint, you're not going to divulge whether you do have, agents, undercover, assets, and so on. I get that. But this guy, in his non-answer, gave the answer. And I want to be very clear, because if you think that this is some kind of conspiracy theory, quite the contrary. If you actually know and understand the FBI's history, this is what they do. This is what they do. And I think it's really important to answer that question. Because they've not stopped talking about January 6th, right? They've said it was an insurrection. It was a coup. I mean, I'm sorry, man. The United States, they do a lot of coups. So does the UK, and they look a lot more bloody and violent than that. So, I would calm down a little bit before comparing it to a coup. The thing is, though, there have been many suspicious stories, like, the kidnapping of Whitmore, Governor Whitmore, right? It turned out that the FBI was involved with that in some way. And I can give you an example in Germany. There's an example where, a case where, one of the agents sent by the intelligence services to infiltrate this right-wing group ended up becoming the leader and running it. So, it's not out of the ordinary to ask this question. And I just want to remind you of Cointelpro, because Cointelpro is basically a program run by the FBI. It stands for Counterintelligence Program. And what the FBI would do, they would send agents to join and infiltrate and sabotage various political movements and groups. So these are, this includes feminist groups, Marxist groups, communist groups, black liberation movements, like the Black Panther Party, and even Martin Luther King, right? Even Martin Luther King, they had a file on this guy to blackmail him with, and wanted to kill him. And I mean, I'm not making this up. You don't have to take my word for it. This is very common knowledge, and it's on the FBI's own website. It's on their website. Look, I have this pulled up. This is the first page from their COINTEL program on black extremists, okay? This is just page 1, and it is so disgusting what they have done. It is so disgusting. So you can see they're set up all over the place, and they're saying that their goal is to, let me scroll up and start reading from here. So they say, their efforts of these groups to consolidate their forces or to recruit new or youthful adherents must be frustrated. No opportunity should be missed to exploit through counterintelligence techniques the organizational and personal conflicts of the leaderships of the groups, and where possible, an effort should be made to capitalize upon existing conflicts between competing black nationalist organizations. When an opportunity is apparent to disrupt or neutralize black nationalist hate-type organizations through the cooperation of established local news media contacts, so basically, if we have a chance to smear somebody in the press, that's what that means. Or through such contact with sources available to the seat of government, in every instance, careful attention must be given to the proposal to ensure the targeted group is disrupted, ridiculed, or discredited through the publicity, and not merely publicized. So, if you scroll down, they can say here how, I can give you an example here how they would harass people, okay? This is against RAM, okay, against the Black Liberation Group RAM. They say here that they were putting surveillance on, they don't even say black, they say Negro. This is an FBI document, that's how they speak about black people in America, right? And they say that when activity started with the appearance of known Negro extremists native to Philadelphia at this residence, a full-time surveillance by police went into effect. Police disruptive action was also initiated. Cars that stopped at this residence were checked as to license numbers. When they left the residence area, they were subject to car stops by uniformed police. The occupants were identified. They then became the target for harassment. They're boasting. They're like, yeah, we literally harass people. That's it. We just harass them. And they give examples, right? This guy was located passing out of, I can't read it because it's blacked out, but I think it says REM there. So, he was caught passing out REM literature. That's what it says. So, this could be books, pamphlets, whatever it is. It's, he was waking people up. How dare he? That's basically what they're saying. Like, don't pass around literature. And then they call other countries authoritarian. They interrogated this guy. He was arrested as a narcotics user on the basis of alleged needle marks. Alleged. So they don't even know if it's true. He was fingerprinted and photographed and then subsequently released by a magistrate. Any excuse for arrest was promptly implemented by arrest. Any possibility of neutralizing an REM activist was exercised. This is page number 1. This is page number 1 of countless files, right? And of course, when we're talking about REM, I mean Revolutionary Action Movement. So this is a very potent group because, Huey Newton and I think Malcolm X was a member of it. It really formed. It was really a pioneer of the Black Liberation Movement in America in the 60s, right? And I know in the files and officially they'll say, oh, well, these were extremists. They're hateful. That's not true. You're going to tell me Martin Luther King was hateful? They had a file this big on that guy. And they tried to smear him as a sex addict or accuse him of committing adultery. You're going to tell me Martin Luther King was an extremist? I don't know a country on earth that doesn't have a park or a street named after that guy. And yet the FBI was trying to destroy him and his reputation. So when they talk about extremists, don't believe them. It's just like to this day they use this to attack people they don't like. This is the first of all 23 documents. I bet you this is not even all of the documents. But if you go to the website, the FBI website, and you look at all of the declassified stuff, Socialist Workers' Party, Cuba, black extremists, the New Left, white hate groups, espionage programs, this is all public. And you can see how vindictive and malicious they are. They're targeting people who want nothing more than to be treated like human beings with equal rights. It's that simple. I'll just read this to you also from PBS. So within 1 year of formation of the Black Panther Party, the FBI established a special counterintelligence program called Cointelpro to neutralize political dissidents. Between 1956 and 71, the FBI used Cointelpro to investigate quote-unquote radical national political groups for intelligence that would lead to involvement of foreign enemies within these groups. Again, this is a tactic, a classic a smear, right? So in order to justify the violation of these people's human rights and constitutional rights, they will accuse them of colluding with foreign agents, right? They'll say, oh, well, yeah, you have freedom of movement and association and speech in America, but that group over there, they look like they might be working with the Cubans or the Russians, which is not even true, right? And so that's how they'll try and justify this. So This, of course, meant that the FBI specifically targeted American citizens. According to Cointelpro documents, 5 groups were singled out for investigation, the ones that I just read to you here, yeah? But the one that bore the brunt of the damage, of most of the damage, was, of course, the Black Panther Party. This is heartbreaking, right? Because you look at, where did all of these people from the Black Panther Party end up? Half of them were put in jail. The other half were smeared, and some of them even shot and killed, right? There are incidents. I'm sick to my stomach, honestly. You saw that paragraph I just read to you with this guy they arrested, accusing him of being a narcotics user with alleged marks on his arm. They even say in the document, we are just making shit up to arrest people and screw them. That's it. It doesn't even have to be real. But I just want to tell you something with Huey Newton, okay? So he's one of the most prominent figures in the Black liberation movement. The same thing, they went in and shot this guy with Mark Clark, okay? They were 21 and 22. 21 and 22. The police went in while they were sleeping. 14 police opened fire on them. And then they said, oh, it was a drug bust. Do you know they filled that room with bullets? The walls, were like Swiss cheese. This is so malicious and spiteful and vindictive and cunning and vile. I would not believe the FBI director for a second, whether it's J. Edgar Hoover or this schmuck sitting right here. Okay? These people are literally paid. They lie for a living. That is literally their job. They lie and spy on other people for a living, and they don't even. They claim to do it in defense, but it's always offensive. It's not defensive, right? There's no justification for what they're doing. So I am extremely concerned when you have a congressperson who is, who's driven to the point that he's publicly asking the FBI director in a congressional hearing whether they had agents with the people that were in the Capitol, because that would make things very interesting, right? Because I remember seeing videos of the Capitol Police just opening the doors to all of these people that stormed the Capitol, right? You guys remember the video. So even from that day, people were wondering, like, why did the cops let them in? Again, I'm just speculating right now. I don't know if I'm not saying that guy was necessarily an FBI agent, but I can understand why the congressman is asking the FBI director this question. I can understand why he's asking this question in the light of the, conspiracy to kidnap Governor Whitmore. There are too many shady things in the FBI's past for you not to ask that question. That is one of the most important questions you can possibly ask, especially when they're attributing so much importance to January 6th. Like, I would also like to know how the Capitol, this is not some farm or, a shed or some, beachfront property. This is the Capitol. This is the heart of American politics, right? This is Congress. You're telling me they're spending $700 billion a year on defense, and a bunch of guys with some with some flags and I forgot that guy's name, the one with the horns, managed to get in? They just walked in the place? Where is all that money going? Like, no one, I can't believe this. Not one person's been fired. Not one person, has been subjected to scrutiny. I guess maybe now, right, with this clip I just played to you. Why were the people in charge of defending the American Capitol and the Capitol building, why weren't they doing their jobs? This is just too suspicious. I'm sorry, man. There's no excuse for this. You cannot spend $700 billion on defense a year, so that's more than the next 10 countries. You cannot be the richest country on earth and then say that some people just randomly walked into Congress, like they just stormed it, and it was so egregious they almost killed people. Right? They're saying, right? They say this woman was a threat, so they shot her in the neck, and then they say that AOC and Nancy Pelosi were fearing for their lives. Again, where was the FBI? Where was the Capitol Police? What happened? I just find this too mysterious to believe. I'm sorry, I'm not that gullible, man. I'm not just swallowing this nonsense. There's something fishy going on, and don't take my word for it. Go read it on the FBI's own website. It's free and it's accessible to everybody. vault.fbi.gov. Have fun. Some really nasty crap you're going to read in there. So, I really can't stress enough how you can't trust these intelligence agencies, whether it's in the UK, the US, Germany. They've really proven multiple times that they not only infiltrate the groups, they even end up leading them. I'll just finish by saying this. At best, FBI, Capitol Police, the people that are in charge of security at the Capitol building and the nation were not doing their jobs, at best. And at worst, they actually organized this and helped, carry it out and orchestrate it, at worst. And in either one of those cases, whichever one turns out to be true, this is not okay. I'm sorry. If this is as grave as they say it is, because you have to understand something, man. The war on terror was used as an excuse to line the pockets of weapons contractors, to steal the resources of several countries, to carry out neoconservative policies and project American hegemony over the planet. Okay, and on top of it, even in the United States, they told people that, we're doing this for your freedom, for your security, and then what did? They passed the Patriot Act so they could spy on Americans without a warrant. Then they started these surveillance programs. Again, the NSA, the bulk of their surveillance program, when it started? On 9/11. They did not waste a minute. Within 24 hours after, of the planes hitting the tower, Dick Cheney got his lawyer, David Addington, and they created the Presidential Surveillance Program, which, became the NSA stuff that you heard about from Snowden and Glenn Greenwald. So they violated people's rights outside the United States and inside the United States, all under the pretext of safety and security and fighting terrorism. So when they use this January 6th as an excuse to start a domestic war on terror, and on top of it, there are some breadcrumbs pointing to some really shady behavior, you should be twice as worried.